Right, hello again. So this talk is about what is new in Skosmos 3. And right, I'll start with maybe an obvious question. Why are we building Skosmos 3, a new major version? And the reason we decided to start the development of version 3 is that there are many reasons, but maybe the most important reason was that many of the user interface components that we used in Skosmos 2 are no longer being maintained by the original authors, and we need to find replacements. And also the Skosmos 2 frontend was only built using jQuery, but no sort of other JavaScript framework, and that kind of led into a very messy code base on the front-end side, and it's hard to maintain. And we didn't find any way around these issues except by basically doing a full rewrite of the front-end part. And this is also an opportunity for other improvements, especially on the front-end side, to reduce the amount of dependencies so that it's easier to maintain over time when we are not relying on other people's code bases and their maintenance that may or may not happen. And it's also an opportunity to improve the code quality across all the whole code base, both the front end and the back end. And we also decided to introduce automated front-end testing in this process, and generally just to improve the user experience and accessibility of the front end. And these are the main changes in Skosmos 3. The most obvious one is that it's a new visual style, slightly different from before, but still following the kind of same sort of clean layout, maybe. To re-implement the front end, and we took a while to evaluate different JavaScript frameworks, but ended up using Vue.js as the main front end. Only small changes to the PHP backend. Mostly it's the same as before. And then the localization, meaning the user interface translation functionality, we started using Symfony translations and localize. I'll talk more about that a bit later. But what hasn't changed is that the core functionality is still the same. The architecture is still the same. There's still a PHP backend and a JavaScript frontend, and it's still not a single page application, but a sort of more leaning toward the more traditional server-side generation style. And this is how it looks, the new style. It's designed by Hahmo Design, a small design company in Helsinki, and it's the same company who did also the original Skosmos style and the Finto style. And there's also a logo that we didn't have before, up there on the top right corner of the slide. And yeah, and then I could show a little demo, and you can also try it yourself at this address test.dev.finto.fi. Let's see, I probably have to reshare. Okay, I think you should see this now. So this is the front end, the front page of the new Skosmos version. It's very similar to the old one, just a different style. And I'll take a look at the general Finnish ontology, and here we have the vocabulary homepage, which is also quite similar to the old one. And in the left sidebar, there's the alphabetical display here that we can use to browse letter by letter. And there's also the hierarchy just like before, and the thematic groups of YSO that you can also browse. And then there's the display of new and deprecated concepts. It's all very similar to what it was in version 2, but basically all of this has been re-implemented. It looks the same, it performs similarly, but it's a new code on the front end side. And we can also search. Let's say we can take something like let's say cataloging, and so we get to the concept page. This is the concept cataloging under bibliographic control. We have the terms in other languages, and we have the mappings to other vocabularies, and all of this is also very similar to Skosmos 3, and we have the download links and so on. And this on the front end, on the front page, there are these boxes here on the right hand side. Actually, it's the same box twice here, but that's just to illustrate that it's possible to customize this the front page, and each of these boxes here is its own file in a folder on the server. So basically, Skosmos has now some special folders where you can put small bits of HTML code or Twig template code, and those will be placed in certain slots in the user interface. So this is it's similar to what Skosmos 2 allows, but it's more flexible, and there are more of these slots in the user interface where you can plug in your own content. We also have a feedback page and an about page, and yeah, and it's all internationalized. So so very similar to Skosmos 3, to Skosmos 2, I mean. And then I will switch back to my main presentation. Right. So this test instance is currently tracking the main branch. So it's always runs the newest code that has been integrated to the main branch. And I think Mona just posted the link to the chat, so you can also find it there if you want to take a look. Here's an overview of the changes on the front-end side, sort of in terms of technologies. So like I said, we changed the JavaScript framework from jQuery to Vue. The CSS framework is still Bootstrap. The internationalization is handled currently using some custom JS code and Vue. And then for dependency management of the front end, we used to use the Composer tool that comes with PHP, but now we are using NPM. And there are other changes, and we've tried to get rid of these external dependencies, externally maintained user interface components. So we have replaced them with our own custom Vue components. So we had to make a new search component, a new hierarchy component, and so on. We also use Cypress to automate some front-end tests, and this is to ensure that the functionality is remains working even if we change the code, so we don't accidentally break something on the front-end side. And we also do some style checks on the JavaScript code. And on the backend side, in the PHP, it still uses the same kind of framework, which is no framework, or it's our own framework, just a very simple model view controller style separation of layers. On the templating, we switched from Twig version 2 to Twig version 3. No major differences there. For the RDF handling, we still use Easy RDF library. And for the internationalization, to handle all the translation of strings, the old backend used this PHP getText extension, which is very traditional, the Unix getText from, I don't know which decades old. And now we are using Symfony translations for Skosmos 3. Dependencies are managed using Composer still. We upgraded PHP unit, and we have used PHP CS Fixer to do some style checking and style fixing. And the currently supported PHP versions are 8.1 to 8.3. But I think as soon as we get Skosmos 3 out of the door, we will probably try to shift this window. But right now it's these three. And for the localization, so this is obviously important for us because we live in a country that is officially bilingual, and then there are also other important languages like English, and also Northern Sami is an important minority language. So we try to keep everything multilingual on the user interface side, and also in many of our vocabularies are multilingual. And in Skosmos, English is the sort of the base or the default language in the code base, and in the templates, it's the English strings are used there, but then they are translated to other languages. And we maintain the user interface translations to Finnish, to Swedish, and Northern Sami. But then for other languages, we have so far been using the Transifex platform to crowdsource these translations, and I know there are many translators attending this workshop. So thank you for your efforts. And we decided to switch to another platform because there were some issues with Transifex, and the new framework, the Symfony translations framework, has built-in support for this localized platform. So now we have started to use that instead. So if you want to maintain a user interface translation into your own language, then you can now do it in localize. We still haven't posted instructions on how to do this to the Skosmos users group, but we will do so very soon. So and of course, even though many of the elements of the user interface are the same, and then we can sort of reuse the old translations, then there are also some new elements that will have to be translated for Skosmos 3. On the configuration side, there are no major changes. It's still a turtle file with global settings and per vocabulary settings. There are a few new configuration options, for example, related to the sidebar that has been re-implemented. And we have also actually already deprecated or removed some of the configuration options, but there still might be changes coming up just before the release on the configuration. So we took the opportunity to clean up a little bit and remove some obsolete configuration options. Styling. So we have planned to support this kind of theming so that there would be like 4 basic themes available to everyone, and then of course it's possible to use one of them as a starting point for further customization. Right now we haven't yet implemented this, and it won't be implemented in 3.0. We simply don't have time for this, but eventually we would like to go to have this support. But what this means for current users of Skosmos 2, including our own Finta instance, it means that since everything is basically rebuilt, it means that any customization you have done to Skosmos 2 will have to be redone for Skosmos 3 because the HTML code, the CSS code, everything looks different from what it was. So you can't just reuse the old rules. And also, a bit sadly perhaps, but since we changed the JavaScript framework from jQuery to Vue, it also means that any plugins or widgets have to be adjusted or re-implemented because we're not, I mean, the stack doesn't include jQuery, and if the plugin is built using jQuery, then you're out of luck. And you have to do it either with Vue or with just vanilla JavaScript. And here in the bottom right corner that you see that also how we are going to customize this for Finto. It's quite plain. It's not very far from actually the default layout, but somewhat different colors and like details. Code quality, yeah. So this is one of the things we wanted to improve when we do a rewriting of the code. So we set up these code quality checks and also the automated tests that I already mentioned. We had PHP unit in the past, but now we also have Cypress, and we run everything on the GitHub Actions continuous integration platform. So all the tests are being run all the time. Anytime we change the code, all the tests are being run to verify that things are still working. What is still missing or under development? Well, there are many small things, but on the sort of more major ones are that we only just got a first version of global search, meaning search over all vocabularies. We only got the first version merged in the latest beta 2 release, and it's still a bit sort of rough around the edges. We still don't have support for this advanced search criteria, so that you could, for example, restrict the search by the hierarchy or by concept type. The internationalization is it's getting into shape, but there are still things that are missing. The theme support, as I mentioned, is still not done. The mobile layout, we have plans for that as well, but right now we have just sort of focused on making the user interface responsive in the like that, so that it works with small screens and large screens. But we haven't really optimized for mobile displays, which are sort of extremely small screens. We want to do an accessibility audit sometime around the 3.0 or after the 3.0 release and try to sort of fix remaining things. We have sort of tried to keep an eye on accessibility when we implement things, but it's likely that we have missed some details. And also the style sheets are actually currently, as we speak, are being refactored. So this is also something that needs to be cleaned up a little before the release. And then we are not fully in feature parity, haven't yet reached feature parity with Skosmos 2. So the Skosmos 2 actually has very large number of small details, for example, in the concept display and handling various edge cases and fallbacks and yeah. So there are many small things that we haven't yet implemented, and that probably won't be ready by 3.0. So we will continue with 3.1, 3.2, and so on until we are happy with it. So it's the development is never stopping because it's being used in our own service, and there are always new requests for features and so on. Here was the roadmap that was already shown earlier today. So basically we have just released the beta 2 version, and the next one is 3.0, and we want to do it within a month from now. And then in next year we will continue, like I said, with filling in the gaps and adding more functionality, and also starting to work on the customization and the plugins and that we need to be able to use this for our own Finto service. And yeah, we don't yet know when this will be ready to be used in Finto, but hopefully by the end of next year, or if not even earlier, when we are happy with it. It might not be entirely complete compared to Skosmos 2, but when it starts to be better than Skosmos 2, then we will switch over. Then just a few words about, especially for those who are new to Skosmos, what does it take to deploy it? On the hardware and software side, you need a Linux server with modest specifications. It's not really very demanding in terms of hardware resources. Basic web server software, Apache and PHP, and usually the Gen of Fuseki triple store, but of course it's possible to use other triple stores as well. It just may not be so well optimized. And it's also good if you can use Git version control because it simplifies life. Alternatively, it's possible to use Docker instead, and maybe skip some of these more technical infrastructure details. But then, of course, you have to know Docker and how to work with that. So it's sort of a different kind of ecosystem. And the vocabulary itself in Skos in some RDF serialization that you can load into the triple store, and then some skills. You have to be able to install and maintain all of this infrastructure and basic RDF skills, for example, to load the data into the triple store. And also it's good to be to know something about web technology so that you can customize the installation the way you want it to be. And we have the documentation in the wiki, so we try to keep that up to date. And now it's currently it's a bit some of the documentation is a bit chaotic because we have to maintain parallel versions for Skosmos 2 and Skosmos 3 for the parts that are different, and we'll probably have to consolidate this somehow after the 3.0 release. But right now there are like for many of the pages in the wiki there are two versions, one for Skosmos 2 and one for Skosmos 3. That's it for my presentation, but if you have any questions, I'm very happy to answer.